Welcome to VidZet, your home for careful consideration of our common concerns. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Let's talk about salt. No, this isn't the salt you put on your French fries. It's state and local taxes. Can we live without deducting them from our income tax? Let's break it down. Federal taxes are supposed to pay for the federal government. And yet from the earliest days, state and local taxes were deductible from federal income taxes. It appears that this has its roots in the earliest days of our republic. The concern was that, quote, all the resources of taxation might by degrees become the subjects of federal monopoly to the entire exclusion and destruction of state governments, close quote. In other words, the feds would take everything and the states would have nothing. Now, it seems that this concern was justified because during World War I, the top federal income tax rate was 77%. And in World War II, it hit 94%. If you were in the top 1% then and your state took 6%, you'd be left with the socialist dream. Nothing at all. But deducting that 6% left some money in your pocket. Confiscating everything the rich earned stayed the center of federal tax policy until 1964, when the Kennedy reforms dropped the top rate to, dare I say it, 77%. Because the rich could keep more of what they earned, the feds actually collected more money. You heard me right. Cutting tax rates led to more tax dollars. Ronald Reagan continued this approach by dropping the top rate to 28% in 1986. As a result, the economy grew 3.5% per year and tax receipts grew by 50%. Don't let anyone confuse you with discussions about deficits. That's a different issue. Tax revenues were increased by 50% when tax rates were cut. Could it be that the best tax is the 20% rate Joseph instituted in ancient Egypt? Right now, our highest rate is 39.6%. That's a long way above Reagan's and Joseph's rates. That means that cutting tax rates would help our economy boom. That's been proven. And don't let your liberal friends tell you any different. But what about state and local taxes? Should salt, oh yes, salt, be part of federal tax policy? If salt is no longer deductible from your federal income tax, a lot of rich taxpayers in New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, and California, maybe a little bit of Oregon and Washington too, give or take, will pay significantly more in federal income taxes. And this has a handful of Republican congressmen, such as Peter King from Long Island, up in arms. His constituents are going to get hit, and it may cost him his seat. Let's get real here. Peter King exists. He's a Republican. He exists. That means the Democrats will scream about everything he says or does 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's not a thing he can do about it. And nothing he does will make them any louder because they're already at full volume. He should look at our president. Donald Trump is in exactly the same position, yet he's moving forward at full throttle. He does so much that Democrats can't lie about it all. There aren't enough sound bites in a day. And if Peter King were to operate the same way, he'd show that he exists for a reason somewhat greater than warming a seat in the House chambers. So Peter King's constituents get hit with a larger tax bill. But it's really the same tax bill as people in red states pay for the same income. You see, New Yorkers will have just lost the sweet deal they've had for years. They've been getting the benefit of higher taxes on red staters. Now the playing field is level. Now, isn't that what the left has been crying about for years? But New Yorkers pay much higher state taxes than red staters. Those taxes go to Albany to fund social welfare programs that red states don't have. They pay for the sweet public union deals that don't exist in red states. And this is repeated in all those high-tax blue states. High-tax states have been hiding the true costs of their plush programs for unions and welfare behind the SALT deduction. When citizens of these miniature people's republics start seeing their wallets deflate, two things will happen. First, a lot of people will change their addresses to red states. That's not new, but it will accelerate. Why stay in a state that robs you blind to pay for someone else when you move to a state that doesn't? Second, if you can't move or you really like being where you are, like a little Broadway theater maybe? Okay. You will probably impress on your state representatives that it's time to cut taxes. And since states aren't able to operate in the red, those blue states will have to cut spending. Let's understand this very well. When people leave blue states, those states will suffer a financial crunch because the cost of their social welfare systems will fall on fewer people. Those people will suddenly feel the cost of what they've been supporting. They won't have the rest of the country footing the bill for their spendthrift ways. They have to become responsible for their own actions. They can't pass it off to someone else. What's not to like? If the Democrats in Massachusetts want to support a massive social welfare society, let them. They're welcome to spend their own money however they want. Those of us in productive red states will look on and wonder why they thought it would work. When they fall flat on their wallets, we won't have to pick up the pieces. Some blue states will become bluer in the short run. People who value freedom will either move away or work to restore freedom in the leftist utopias. But there's no way that social welfare societies can work in the long run. Europe and Canada are proving that, just the way the Plymouth colony proved it from 1620 to 1622. And if they can learn like the colonists at Plymouth did, even those blue states may turn red. Even so, it's not our place to demand that Massachusetts get smart. They have the right to be stupid. But they shouldn't have the right to demand that we bail out their stupidity. Deductibility of state and local taxes is one way that high-tax states foist their stupidity onto our shoulders. We are Atlas, holding up America. And as Ayn Rand noted, it's time for Atlas to shrug. Peter King and his soft buddies need to man up. Either they're in Congress to do something, or they're there to keep a chair from floating away in the swamp. We need congressmen, not Congress critters. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Thanks for watching. Please support VidZ on Patreon, like us on Facebook, and follow @VidZ on Twitter.